This morning, in countless homes across the land, a cry of dismay rang out. "Oh no, I'm late!" Somehow this person slept in, and now they'll have to scramble to try to rescue the day. Now for some, they'll realize sleeping in was on them. They didn't hear the alarm, or maybe they never set it. Maybe they hit the snooze once, or twice, or maybe too many times. Or it's possible their device didn't even work and there was no safety net in place. However way it happened, they knew it was their responsibility. But for many others, accusations started to fly. "How could you let me sleep in like that? You know how important this is to me. Thanks to you, I'm late." Now what just happened there? Or how about this one? They're barking out orders. They're raising their voice over this task or that file, the wrong font on the document. The demos are subpar, the results are way below disappointing, and so on and so on. You see, they have a vision, and it must come true. But not everyone understands the vision or sees it the same way, and some suspect at least part of the vision is possibly unrealistic. Now, how different that scene is than the one where everyone's talking about the vision. They're able to say what they can realistically do, what resources will be needed, and the visionary understands this is going to have to be a team effort. Now, what makes the difference? It's something that trips us up all the time, something we often get mixed up about, and that's caused many a tearful meltdown or a volcanic eruption. And it's the difference between goals and desires. And already, the dictionary doesn't really help us, because according to the first online dictionary that came up when I asked for the definition of a goal, it was this: the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. An aim or a desired result? Well, what's the definition of a desire then? It's a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. You see, goals and desires really aren't the same thing. In fact, a goal is something a person can accomplish on their own, such as matters of personal discipline. Okay, for example, I can make it my goal to get up at a certain time of day. Under ordinary circumstances, that's not a responsibility I need to place in somebody else's hands. I am able to accomplish this on my own. However, desires are what people can long for, even intensely long for, but they can't pull it off on their own. I can, for example, intensely desire for sunshine and blue sky from my outdoor party, but I can't promise it. I can't make it a goal to have one. I need God's help for that. Now, this chart can maybe help understand the difference and how it affects us. You see, a healthy goal is an aim I can assume responsibility for, and under normal circumstances, I can achieve it on my own. And a healthy desire is a hope I long for. I can even intensely long for it, but I understand I can't bring this about on my own. So what happens to a goal when it's warped? Well, it's a goal that began as a hope I long for, but at some point I assume responsibility. But in fact, I can't bring this about on my own. So what happens? I put demands on others to make it happen. Now what happens to a desire when it gets warped? Well, the desire turns into an aim that I could assume full responsibility for. And under normal circumstances, I could achieve it on my own. But instead, I place the responsibility on others to bring it about. So in this chart, you see I work for the outcomes of my goals, but I pray for the outcomes of my desires. And very often, we get our wires crossed. Healthy goal, I work towards the outcome. Unhealthy goal, I become controlling and demanding and manipulative because I am intent on making another person or circumstances or people fulfill my goal. My own sense of need is driving me to frame my desires as goals. Now, a healthy desire, I acknowledge my desire to myself, I acknowledge it to God, I acknowledge it to others, and I hope my desire will be fulfilled. Often I can even intensely hope it. But an unhealthy desire happens when I abdicate my responsibility in working towards an outcome. I'm fully capable of achieving it. But instead, I become controlling, demanding, and manipulative because I'm intent on making another person or circumstances or people fulfill what should actually be my own personal goal. So my own sense of weakness or fear is driving me to frame my goals as desires. And did you notice the emotions that accompany a blocked goal or an unfulfilled desire when the responsibility is laid on the wrong person? Rage and misery. Enter Herod and Herodias. I really can't think of anyone who would willingly identify with either of these two biblical royals, but we can learn a lot from how they dealt with goals and desires. Now here's the story as told in Mark's Gospel. For Herod himself had sent men and had John arrested and bound in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of his brother Philip, because he'd married her. For John had been saying to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." And Herodias held a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death, and could not do so. You see, Herodias found herself blocked on all sides. Her desire to be admired and accepted as Herod's wife and eventual queen had become an unhealthy goal, thwarted by John the Baptist, who very publicly denounced her and her husband. Herodias intensely desired to silence John, but that too became an unhealthy goal, thwarted by her husband. Herod also found himself in a quagmire of blocked goals and unfulfilled desires. His intense longing was to be honored and respected as a Jew, even though he was a Nabatean, not Jewish. And he particularly longed to be honored as a Jewish king. He had also longed that his marriage to his brother's wife would be acceptable, even though Jewish law made it clear it was not. Herod's intense desire became unhealthy goals, blocked by John the Baptist. But Herod also fell prey to his own fears. Herod was afraid of John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he'd been protecting him. Josephus adds a further note. Herod, who feared that such strong influence over the people might carry to a revolt, for they seemed ready to do anything he should advise, believed it much better to move now than later, have it raise a rebellion, and engage him in actions he would regret. And so, John, out of Herod's suspiciousness, was sent in chains to Machaerus, the fort previously mentioned, and there put to death. The truth is, it was within Herod's power to silence John, but because of his sense of weakness and fear, he didn't. So instead, an unhealthy desire grew ever stronger within him. Now, being powerless to achieve her unhealthy goals, Herodias turned to manipulation and murder, and fearful Herod allowed himself to be maneuvered. Nearly a year into this festering emotional pit, Herodias recognized her opportunity. It was right before the Passover, and Herod was to have a big party. There was going to be drinking and carousing and high spirits, so Herodias devised her plan. She would entice and disarm Herod before his guests and maneuver him into a corner. When Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company, and she pleased Herod so much that he promised on oath to grant her whatever she might ask. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter." Now the king was grieved, yet out of regard for his oaths and for the guests, he commanded it to be given. He sent and had John beheaded in the prison. The head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, who brought it to her mother. Herodias' desire, which had grown into an unhealthy goal, made her willing to use whoever and whatever she could to achieve it. And Herodias knew her husband. She knew the sensuous dance of a little girl would ensnare him, and she knew his pride would corner him, and she knew deep down Herod wanted to kill John too. He just needed an excuse to absolve himself of the responsibility. Now, most of us don't get swept up into such an epic tale of crossed goals and desires. but our emotions can still act as warning signals that something like this might be happening. Over-anxious worry or outsized anger might indicate a desire that has warped into a goal, or a goal that has been relegated to desire. So think about those times when you felt those feelings and look at this chart. Do any of those episodes match up? Can you tell if you have a responsibility that you've given to someone else? Can you tell if you have a desire that you've turned into a goal and now you're trying to make everybody else achieve it? I hope you've discovered something new about yourself and about the people you interact with. This is just a snippet of what you can learn through the Lay Counselor Institute. The Glorious Mess is a one-day workshop available online, or you know what? You could even host one yourself through your church. Just contact us and see how.